Good afternoon. I, Priya Dukal, on behalf of PDC ICI, welcomes you all for today's webinar on regional development and untapped professional opportunities in cooperative sector. Today, we have with us Rotra, Secretary PDC, and CA Prasanna Kumari, Vice Chairman PDC. We are happy to introduce the panelists who are here to grace the event. I welcome CA Anil Agarwal, Advocate Vijay Kulkarni, and Advocate Gaurav Gupta. We thank all the participants for joining us for the webinar. Now, I would request Ms. Seema Girotra, Secretary PDC, to please share a few words before we start the webinar.
Thank you, Priya. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Professional Development Committee, our Chairperson, Kamisha Soni ma'am, Vice Chairman, Prasanna Kumar sir, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all the faculty present here and all the participants for this webinar. So this year, the Professional Development Committee has a lot of focus in the cooperative sector, and we have taken in a lot of initiatives in this area. Recently, we had this certificate course also from 21st May to 18 June online certificate course. And we have a series of meetings with the Ministry of Cooperation. We had met the Secretary, Ministry of Cooperation, Additional Secretary. We provided them panels also. And so we are in constant touch with them. And so that is why the Professional Development Committee thought that today's webinar will be holding on this recent development and untapped professional opportunities in cooperative sector. And so now we'll start with the webinar. We'll request Anil Agarwal sir to kindly start with his sessions. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to request CA Neha Mittal to take forward the session.
Thank you so much, Priya, and good afternoon, everyone. Myself, CA Neha Mittal, and moving forward, I would like to introduce the first faculty for today's webinar, CA Anil Agarwal ji. He is a practicing chartered accountant, qualified cost accountant, and company secretary as well. He also completed visa course of ICI and completed ICI certification course on FAFD and concurrent audit. He has served as a member, special invited to various committee of ICI. He has addressed various seminars on different topics conducted by ICI. He has been associated with various social organizations also. Today, he will be sharing his expertise knowledge on the topic related to 97th Constitution Amendment and its impact on cooperative sector. So, sir, I welcome you in today's seminar. And now I would like to request you, please start the session, sir.
Anil, sir, you can start the session. I'm sharing the PPT for you.
Thank you for all members from the PDC committee, as well as all the viewers of this program, for giving me this opportunity and listening me today. So today I'm going to speak on a very special topic, which will help the latest development, which is proposed by the central government for cooperative sector specifically, which is called as a 97th Constitutional Amendment. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, friends, here you can see on the screen that, what are the powers which is available to the government through which they put up some constitutional amendments. So here we can see there are three kinds of lists under 7th schedule of the Constitution. Under list 1, there are the areas where the law can be prescribed by the union government. It contains 98 subjects, and the another is the second list, which is exclusive list for the state governments. It also contains 59 subjects. Initially, when the Constitution was made, it was 66 subjects. And third one is the concurrent list. The concurrent list is the list which contain the subjects where the union government and the state government both can make a law. But they have prescribed the procedure where the union government make the law, how it will be implemented. state governments are required to adopt minimum numbers of these states has to adopt that law which is prescribed or which is laid down before the parliament. So state governments under their assemblies also had to give the consent, and the minimum numbers of the state government have to concur with the law which is approved by the union government. So let us come on the second slide. Next slide. Under which articles this 97th amendment was proposed, and what it says. This is not Article 19(1)(c), which talks about the guaranteed freedom to form an association or the unions or the cooperative society subject to certain restrictions. So this is the enabling sections or the enabling articles under the constitutions which empower the central government to lay down any law related to the freedom to form an associations, etc. Another article of the Indian Constitution, which is Article 43B, it states about the state's power. What is the state's power? It says that the states endeavor to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and the professional management of the cooperative society. So you can see the basic difference between the Article 19 and the Article 43B. The Article 19 talks about the general powers of the union government. It's not talking specifically about the cooperative society. The cooperative society word is one of the forms. There are another sort of form which is called association or unions or a cooperative society. But under the Article 43B, you can note and you can observe that the only word is the cooperative society is mentioned. And it also talks about, it's not talking about the freedom. This talks about that the state government has a power to promote voluntary formation. The voluntary formation means the person who wish to form the cooperative society can form that. They have a voluntarily, the encouragement. There is no compulsion. Then what should be the role? It should be autonomous functioning, democratic control, and the very specific word is now the professional management. It's not only talking about the management, it is talking about the professional management. So earlier these kind of enabling articles were there in the Indian constitutions, but however every state governments have formed their own laws on the state on the cooperative society, and in the state where no cooperative society has been passed on, so they are just following up the Cooperative Society Act 1912, and they are adopting as it is in their assembly, not having their own changes which is proposed by the union governments. So here you can see in the last line, the part 3 of the constitution, after the word or union, the cooperative societies were added. So in part 3 of the constitution, earlier the word was only association or union. The cooperative society was added through the 97th amendment. So now the central government wanted to have an power to form in a law which applies to the cooperative society as well. Earlier in the Article 43B, it was the exclusive domain of the state government. Next slide, please. Can I? So let us have what is this 97th constitutional amendment. So what it says, it's a start with a very specific word, notwithstanding anything in this part. Any provisions of any law related to cooperative society in force in a state immediately before this constitutional amendment, which is inconsistent with the provisions of this part, shall continue to be in force until amended or repealed by the competent legislature or other competent authority, or until the expiration of 1 year from such commencements. So what it says, whatever law which is proposed under the 97th constitutional amendment, it will be continue, but any existing law which is already available or already made applicable in a particular state. So it will be valid only for a 1 year, and within this 1 year from passing this 97th constitutional amendment till 1 year from that day, if the state assembly is not adopting this new 97th amendments provisions, then it will automatically apply. So this is the the time period from where the new provisions will made applicable. So it is saying whichever is less, if state governments adopt before the expiry of the 1 year, then the new law will be made applicable on that day where it is passed by the state assembly. Next slide, please. So what is the aim? The aim of the 97th amendment was to encourage economic activity of the cooperative, which in turn help progress of rural India. The prime objective is to progress of rural India. As we are all aware that the cooperative sector is more popular in the rural area, not in the urban area, and there are various kind of cooperative activities. So depending upon the area and the particular requirement of that area, the particular type of cooperative society is incorporated in that area, which helps the people living in that area to progress further. But as far as the 97th constitutional amendment is there, one of the objective is to progress. Now, the second, it is expected not to only ensure autonomous and the democratic functioning, but the accountability of the management of the members, management to the members and the stakeholders. So that is the another difference between the prior law and the proposed law. So earlier management was run by the peoples, those are elected by the members of the cooperative society, but these provisions are making more accountability towards the members and the stakeholder. It is not making more accountability towards the government. It is making more accountability towards the members and the stakeholders. The next slide, please. So earlier there was part 9A. After that part 9A, the part 9B was inserted. So through the 97th amendment, a new part was created, which is called as a part 9B. What are the silent features of this part 9B? It only talks about the new incorporate provisions which shall be made applicable after the state governments adopt in the legislative or the 1 year. So it makes the right to form cooperative as a fundamental right. That is the one of the basic features. Then reservation of the 1 seat for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe and 2 seats for the women. These provisions were already adopted by many state governments earlier, but now it is proposed to be made mandatory. Then cooperative could set up an agency which would oversee elections. Earlier the elections was held by the people. Those are either appointed by the registrar of the cooperative society of that state, or the by the management itself. They can appoint any gazetted officer or the person of the repute or integrity as an election officer. There were no compulsion, but in certain cases, certain state governments had put certain condition that if the land is not allotted, still the waiting list is there, then elections would be held by the election officer, who is going to be appointed by the registrar office itself. Then the next one is uniformity in the tenure. Since beginning there was a very ununiformity as far as the tenure of the cooperative board is concerned. Somewhere it was prescribed as a 1 year, somewhere it was prescribed as a 3 year, somewhere it is prescribed as a 5 years. So now through this 97th amendment, the government wants that the tenure should be fixed, and they wanted to have a tenure of a 3 year as a uniform period. So now let us see the particular provisions which are prescribed in 9B, part 9B. It describes and giving the only definitions like, authorized persons, is the meaning of the board, what is the meaning of the cooperative society, what is the meaning of this multi-state cooperative society. All these definitions are not new, but since the union government has prescribed a new law, so you are all aware that whenever there is a new law, it starts from the definition. So it's this new law is also starting with the definition, which is given in the article 243 ZH under this 9B part. So it's talk about authorized person, board, and cooperative society and the multi-state cooperative society. They are only explaining what do you mean by these kind of words wherever these kind of words are being used in any provinces. Yeah, next please. Then the office periods, registrar, it talks about the central registrar in the case of a multi-state cooperative and the registrar appointed by the state government. Then what is meaning by state act? The state act which is made by the legislative of the particular state. Then state level cooperative society means the cooperative society which having the area of operation limited to a one state. If your area of operation is extended to more than one state, then it would fall under the multi-state cooperative society. Yeah, next please. So Article 243 JDI talks about the incorporation, like how you can make the incorporation, who is going to be the authority, who is going to give you the approvals, this kind of things. Let us have a few lines on this. Subject to the provision of this part, the legislatures of the state may by law. It is giving the power to the state. It is very important to know. The state may by law make provision with respect to incorporation, regulations, and the winding up of cooperative society based on the principle of voluntary formation, democratic member control, member economic participation, and autonomous functioning. You see, they are giving the power to the state governments, but this power is subject to 4 limitations. What are these 4 limitations which is prescribed in this particular part itself? It is the principle of voluntary formation should be followed. Then it should be based on the democratic member control. It means thereby that it should be controlled by the members, not by the management. Then members economic participation. Then in a particular cooperative society, the participant should be having their interest on the economic interest. It is not purely a voluntary kind of things or charitable kind of things. Many people may have a understanding that the cooperative society is a sort of non-profit making organization. Let me make you very much clear on this particular aspect, that the cooperative societies are not meant for not making profit. Cooperative societies are very well meant that they can adopt the principle of economic participation as well as the constitutional participations also. But the aim is nowhere is limited to not earn any profit. Cooperative society is basically formed for the purpose of the common interest and the common objective of the members, and they functions accordingly. So during the course of functioning, the economic participation, for an example, if let's say the member of the cooperative society, let's say a dairy cooperative societies, they have a members, they have so a lot of animals producing the milk. So by way of the cooperative society, the milk can be collected and can be sold out in the market. So I'm talking about in that sense the economic participation. Then the fourth one, which is very much important, the autonomous functioning. They don't want the the interference from any corner. They want that the functioning should be autonomous through the members and the management and the prescribed law. So this is the power which is given to the state, but it is subject to the 4 kind of limitations in the forms of voluntary formation, democratic, economic participation, and the autonomous functioning. Yeah, next slide, please. Then it talks about the numbers and the terms of the members, as we earlier seen that the tenure was the one of the major concerns. So now it talks about what should be the tenure. The board shall consist such numbers of the directors as may be provided by the legislature. They have given the power to the state governments, provided the maximum number of the director cannot exceed 21. Then one seat should be reserved for scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. You can see the word or. It can be either. It's not necessary that you should have a one member from the both sides. Then two seats from the women. So three things are clubbed together here. What is the numbers? Maximum number should not exceed 21. Within that limit, state government can decide any numbers depending on the kind of society. And the second thing, that one member should be either from the SC or SC side. And the third one is two members should be in the board should be women. So these are the specialty of this proposed amendment. The next one, the what should be the term period? As I told that the term period earlier was the 1 year or the 3 year, but it was felt the tenure of 1 year or 3 year is not having very fruitfulness, because you see when someone is assuming the office and they start formulating the new policies which is to be implemented, by the time they comes and the results comes in the before the eyes. So by the time their times come for saying bye bye, somebody will takes over. So accordingly policies are changed. So now it's prescribed the longer time period than previous one. It was 3 years earlier. Now they are prescribing the 5 years. So, and another things, which is the board may fill the casual vacancy by nomination, but nomination should be that particular class from which the person has been elected. And if the terms of the office of the board is less than half of its original terms, meaning thereby if the balance terms of the board is more than half, then election should be held of that particular post. If the tenure is less than half, then the board has a power to nominate the persons. Yeah, next one. Then the board linings about the particular articles, that is the elections, how the election is going to be held, then how the suppressions and the suspension of the board and interim management in case of any mismanagement, how the registrar will get the powers to suspend the board and appoint the any administrator. Then article 243 JDM talks about the audit and accounts, which is common as earlier. So no very much important amendments were there. Yeah, next slide, please. Then the article talking about the manner of convening the general body meetings. 243 JDO talks about the right to information act. Let me just give you a clarification that right to information act is not automatically applicable to the cooperative society. RTA Act is not applicable. Why? Because RTA Act is applicable where the direct or indirect involvement of the government is there, whether it is a state government or central government. But in case of a cooperative society, since the cooperative societies are formulated by the members itself, and as such there is no contributions from the government side, so right to information act is not made applicable. However, to enable the members, a specific provisions have been inserted in the act itself, which casts a duty upon the management or the state registrar, because the state registrar is the the government people's. So under the RTI Act, you can ask any information to the registrar, but you can't ask the information from the society. So somewhere if you want to get some information, then you give a RTA application to registrar, then registrar try to get the information from the society, but directly you cannot get the information under the RTA Act. To overcome these problems, as far as the getting the information by the members, the specific provisions is inserted as a right of a member to get the information. Then next articles talks about the returns, annual returns, in a meaning that we are saying the autonomous functioning. when there is autonomous functioning. However, you are supposed to provide your regular information in the forms of audit and the annual compliances. So, you have to tell when the elections were held, how many meetings you were held, what are the names and the designations and their contact number of the management. These kind of informations are asked under these kind of returns, which you need to file with the government. The next article talks about the offenses of penalties. In case of any non-compliances of any of the provisions, then what are the penalties and the what violation will be treated as offenses. In case this some act has been treated as an offenses, then what will be the penalty and the quantum of the punishment. Yeah, next slide, please. Then applicability to the multi-state cooperative society. You see, the law has been made. Law has been made for the cooperative society which are having their area of operation in a one state. So these similar law, earlier we have two laws separately, one for the multi-state cooperative society and one for the state cooperative society. But now they made a new law, and after making the new law, which is to be adopted by the state government, now they are saying these same law shall be applicable to the multi-state cooperative societies also. Then, we in India, we have three kinds of government. One is the state government, one is the union territory and etc. So it is saying the law which is proposed shall be made applicable to the state government, but these laws shall also be made applicable to the union territory, like Delhi is a union territory. Then continuation of the existing law. Continuation means on the date when this law is proposed till the next 1 year, or the date of adoption, whichever is less, the existing law shall be made applicable. Yeah, next slide, please. These are the nothing, just in a brief summary, what we have read in the proposed articles under the part 9b of the constitutional amendment. It talks about incorporations. It talks about principle of democracy, maximum number of directors, fixed term of 5 years in place of 3 years. Then the providing maximum time limit of 6 months during which the board of directors could be kept under suspensions. And this is the very very important amendment. Earlier, what is happening, in case of any malpractice or any misutilization of fund or non-compliance of the law, the registrar of the particular state have a power to suspend the management, and they have a power to appoint the administrator who is nobody but a nominee of the registrar. But they continue to run the cooperative society for so many years. So in order to ensure that the election should be held and the maximum time for which an administrator can be appointed by the registrar, so they have cast a duty upon the registrar that you can only appoint for a maximum period of 6 months as a administrator, as your nominee only. So maximum time limit is prescribed, and after that or before expiry of 6 months, the election should have been held and the society should be handed over to the new management, which is elected by the members. Then independent professional audit. Earlier, many states have their own audit departments and their staffs used to do the audits. But now, as a compulsion or as a mandatory provisions, the new amendment talks about that audit of a cooperative society should have been done by a professional only, not by the own staff of the registrar. Yeah, next slide, please. Can I have next slide? Yeah. Then we had just talked about right of information. As I told you, right of information is not directly applicable, but by way of a particular provisions inserted in the Cooperative Act, the right of information is given to in a limited manner to the members and the people those are dealing with the that particular kind of cooperative society. No third party can have an access. Then the empowering the state government to get the periodic report, as we talked about annual reports. So it is covering that only. Then we talked about offenses and penalties. So it is just giving a summary. Next slide, please. What are the implications? We have just seen these are the proposed amendments which the state government, which the union government has proposed, and which is made applicable to the state government to incorporate in their laws, and they have been given the 1 year period for adopting those new amendments. So what are the implications? The amendment of the constitution to make it obligatory for the states to ensure autonomy, to have a professionalism in decision making and the democratic control. What we have read in the first slides, it is just giving the highlights, and the holding the elections for a 5 year terms, and it talks about independent audit, and the board, the period for which the board can be suspended, it is maximum period of 6 months. So these are the I can say the broad and the important parameters where the amendment was aiming to change the earlier law. Yeah, next slide, please. We have just gone through the amendment which is proposed by the central government, and the central government has given the time period of 1 year to adopt the new provisions. However, these amendments was challenged before the court. Earlier, the Gujarat High Court struck down the provisions of Part 9B. What was the basic reasons on which ground the new amendment by way of 97th amendment was challenged? As we have seen in our first slides that the union government has a power under a particular article, state government has a power under particular article, and there is a residual common subject where both union and the state government can make the law. So these 97th amendment was challenged before the Gujarat High Court, and the Gujarat High Court have said that these are the domain of the state government, not the domain of the union government, and union government by way of the constitutional amendment have jump over the rights of the state governments by way of these constitutional amendments. Central government has a power over the multi-state cooperative society, because when the subject matters falls under the umbrella of the two state governments, then which state governments rules shall be made applicable. So in order to avoid those situations, multi-state cooperative society terms was incorporated and formed, that any society which is having their operations in more than one state, they would be covered by the multi-state cooperative society act. So where the multi-state cooperative society act is applicable, so the role of the union government to make law is upheld. However, in the case of the cooperative society, which is only having the area of operation within a state, so state government power have been upheld. So we have already just see what the features of the Part 9B through the 97th amendment, which talks about terms of the board, and the what are the grounds on which this amendment is challenged. And the Supreme Court is also upheld the decision of the Gujarat High Court. What is the provision in the amendment passed by the parliament without getting them rectified by the state legislature as required by the constitution. These were the one of the ground for challenging this. Then if it went to extent of determining the number of director as a society should have their length of tenure, even the necessary expertise required to become a member. So these are the particular things that on which grounds the 97th constitutional amendment was challenged. That new law is prescribing some peculiar things which is not possible in case of each and every kind of society, and the role of the cooperative society, which having the area of operation within a state, falls under the jurisdiction of the state governments. So next slide, please. What is the argument which was proposed? The earlier argument was proposed by the state governments, but here the argument proposed by the central government. It justified that the government was injecting the professionalism and autonomy into the functioning. Lack of accountability by the members has led to the poor service and the low productivity. Even elections are not held on time. Cooperative needs to run on a well-established democratic process. These are the three broad grounds over which the central government's council placed the argument before the Supreme Court that through these amendments, what we want, why we want this law, these are the three things. That they want a professionalism, they want a democratic control, they want a more participation by the members, and they want a elections to be held on a time. So these are the basic grounds, where the central government has tried to place the arguments. Yeah, next slide, please. Then the one of the peculiarity of the decisions that the amendment through the 97th constitutional amendment by way of part 9b was held valid to the extent when it is applicable to the multi-state cooperative society. Why? It was not made applicable to the cooperative society which falls under the jurisdiction of the state government, because the minimum numbers of the state government required to rectify the law which is proposed by the union government was not done. So due to lack of rectification by the state legislative assembly, it was upheld, because in the case of a multi-state cooperative society, law can be made by the union government. So there was no challenge as far as the multi-state cooperative society is concerned. But however, as far as the applicability of these new amendments to the state jurisdictions cooperative society is concerned, so said that until the minimum numbers of the state government is rectifying or approving the new law, this law cannot be made applicable to the state. So when it comes to the multi-state cooperative society with object not confining to the one state, the legislative power would be that of union. As I said, the union government has a power on the multi-state. So that is why it is declared that the part 9b is not constitutional as far as it is related with the cooperative society, falls under the jurisdiction of the state government. But the constitutional validity of these new provisions under the part 9b is held valid to the extent of multi-state cooperative society. The next slide, please. Then you can see what is the minimum requirement. Any law which is proposed by the union government and which is a subject matter of the state government or under the concurrent list. So if it falls under the concurrent list, at least one half of the state legislature should have approved those laws. Otherwise, it shall not be made applicable to the state. So Article 368(2), the Parliament can amend the Constitution by passing a bill with a special majority. This applicable to those areas which falls under the concurrent list. So since the rectification is not done by the half of the state legislature, hence the proposed amendments was not held valid to the state government jurisdictions cooperative society, but it was held valid to the multi-state cooperative society. Next slide. So here you can see that, we have just gone through the complete slides on the 97th constitutional amendments. Let me just talk about the few more uh, kind of things which we can say that what is in the latest developments also. Now the union government is also thinking that they are proposing that the cooperative society is not limited only to the domestic productions. They want that there should be in, like, export promotion council. The cooperative society export promotion council should be formed. So union government has formed a promotion council which will help the cooperative society to export. So these are the basic amendments which is now this government has proposed. They have proposed the cooperative sector export promotion forum. They have incorporated that, which will help the cooperative society to develop the skills and the export their products outside India. And the another things that, like, the many peoples are being given the dealership to sell the petrols and all these petroleum products. So now the government is also proposing that the cooperative sector, and particularly the primarily agriculture credit society, shall be allowed to sell the petroleum products and to run the ration shops. These were not the activity which were being done by the cooperative society yet, but now, as a recent development in this particular sector, the government is giving such an options to run the petrol pumps or another petroleum products, to sell the petroleum products, and to run the PDP shops, right, which is normally considered as a ration shop. Then the third objective, the recent development, that as today, we have a slogan that India has to be made as a self-reliance. So how India can be made as a self-reliance? So everybody should take a part. So the cooperative sector is being considered as one of the most important pillars, because the cooperative sector is basically spread over in our rural areas. So by way of joining all the people living in the rural areas, they want the people from the rural areas, while forming the cooperative society, help the India to become self-reliant. So I have just told you the three basic developments, that they are being considered as one of the national building partner to make the India as a self-reliant. They are being given the chance to sell the petroleum products and the ration shops, and the government is aiming that the cooperative sector should also be considered for exporting their products. They should not be limiting to the selling their product in the domestic market. They want to encourage them to sell their product overseas also. So these are the three which I can see the major developments in this particular area. So if anybody have any kind of questions, can we seek for any questions?
Yes, sir. There are 2 to 3 questions, and one of the participants is asking about is this new law will be applicable?
I'm unable to hear you very properly. Can you speak little loud?
Yes, sir. Is I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible, but I think your voice is not coming well to me.
Okay, we'll check it, sir. Just give me a minute, sir.
Let me
So
just
am I audible?
pen. Yeah, you are
Am I-
audible. Yeah.
I'm audible. So we have a question. Is the new law, the law that we were talking about, is applicable to the entire India or as a single law for a single state or something?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, but your voice was breaking in between.
Right. The new law which we were talking about will be applicable to entire India, or it will be just a single law, state law types.
Okay. let me answer these questions. You see, the object of proposing this law is to make a common law applicable to whole India. Okay. However, the state governments are being given some powers to add on certain provision without bypassing the main objects. They can add certain more provisions, but without violating the main provisions. They can, if the central government has put two conditions, so state government can add one more condition, but these two conditions which is already proposed by the central government cannot be strike by the state government. So state government have can only do the add-on. So as far as the answer to this question is concerned, the aim of the law is to make applicable in India as a whole, number one, and state government is being given a power to add on certain provisions. So my answer in two ways: law is applicable, yes, to whole India the law is applicable, but the state government is also giving a power to add on certain provisions.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, another question is, one of the participants is asking some guidelines in forming multi-state cooperative banking society.
You see, as far as if it talks about banking, the word which is important to be noticed is the banking. You see, we can incorporate a cooperative society in the which provides credits facility to its members. When the numbers of your members, let's say, if I say from the daily prospects, if the number of your members exceed 2000, then you can apply to the Reserve Bank of India to change your cooperative society into a cooperative society bank. The cooperative society banks comes under the dual supervision powers. The first one, they comes under the supervision power of that particular state registrar as far as the administrative management is concerned, and they also falls under the jurisdiction of Reserve Bank of India as a bank. So they have to follow the rules and regulations of both law which is prescribed by the Reserve Bank of India and the registrar of cooperative society of the state, or the central registrar in case of a multi-state cooperative society.
Okay, sir. So next question is, can a cooperative society directly appoint the auditor?
Yeah, you see, it depends upon the law. As far as the 97 constitutional amendment was there, the aim was to appoint a professional auditor. As I told that in various states, the audit is being done by the staff of the registrar itself. Okay. Many states have a different kind of provisions in their Cooperative Act. Let's take an example that in Delhi, the power has been given to the management to appoint the auditor. However, the registrar of the state has make a list of the panel, which is prepared every 3 years. The registrar invites the application from the chartered accountants, those who would like to be empaneled with the registrar. So every 3 years this panel is prepared, and the cooperative society management is given the
काउंसिल को माइक खुला है ओपन है नहीं माइक ये रहा ना
You see, what I was talking, the answer to the question is yes, the management is being given a power to select the chartered accountant whose name is appearing in the MPanel list. However, while selecting the auditors, they have to see the category of their society, because registrar has maintained six kind of category of the chartered accountant: A, B, C, D, E, F. So, the bigger chartered accountant firm having, 5 FC and more have been placed under the list of A category. So the registrar wants that in case of a bigger society, the bigger firm should do the audit. So in order to match the, their activity as well as the capacity of the firms to undertake the audits properly, they have prescribed the guidelines that if the society has that much turnover, they fall and they can select the category of ABCD accordingly.
Okay, sir. So next question is, how much time does it take to incorporate a multi-state cooperative society? Will it depend on how much state the society operates or is proposed to operate?
Yeah, I think there are two questions in the one question itself. The first one is the how much time is being taken to incorporate a multi-state corporation.
Yes, sir.
Second one is that if the area of operation is more than 2 or 3 or 4, yeah, definitely your time will depend upon the number of states where you want to operate. Normally 6 month time is applicable for starting the process and completing the process. And let's say if we talks about, let's say if you want to incorporate and having your area of operation within 2 states only, because while forming the and while giving the approval, the central registrar is sending a communication to that state registrar also to know the and to have a verification about the members. Because when you are incorporating a cooperative society having the multi-state presence, so you should have a multi-state members also. It's not like that you have a members only from the Delhi, or you are going to expand the area on the so many states. So the area which you are proposing, you should have a member from that states also. And the central registrar is supposed to get the feedbacks from the that state registrar. So your time will depend upon both the things. अगर आप 10 स्टेट में अगर आप ऑपरेशन रन करेंगे, सो 10 रजिस्ट्रार से उनको कंफर्मेशन लेना है. So accordingly, it will take times.
Okay, right, sir. Got it, sir. So another question is, if state level society gets converted into multi-state society, so whether registration under both the acts will continue, and it will have to comply with State Act and Multi-Cooperative Society Act?
No. You see, if you are already incorporated into a state and you want to convert yourself into multi-state, your jurisdiction will get changed. Under the state, you are under the jurisdiction of the state registrar. But if you want to convert into the multi-state cooperative society, then your jurisdiction will fall before the central registrar. So jurisdiction will change. You can convert, you can have the same name, no difficulties. But your jurisdiction will change from the local registrar to central registrar. And the central registrar office is located in New Delhi itself.
Okay. Sir, another question is, can we form multi-state cooperative society under this act, and what are the terms?
No, can you repeat the question? I am unable.
Okay. So can we form a multi-state cooperative credit society under this act, and what are the terms?
You see, any kind of cooperative society can be formed under this act. As you know, we have to understand two things. Area of operation. If you want to have an area of operation within only one state, then you have to follow the state law. if you want to have a area of operation more than one state, then you have to follow the multi-state cooperative act law.
Okay, sir. So next question is, once cooperative banks wound up, whether it can be work as normal cooperative society with amendments in bylaws?
Can you repeat the question? Actually, your voice was having.
Okay, sir. So once cooperative banks wound up, whether it can be work as normal cooperative society with amendments in bylaws?
What I have understood from your question that you mean to say if cooperative bank will be converted as a cooperative society. Am I correct?
Sir.
Yeah. You see, as you can convert as a cooperative society to a cooperative banks, definitely you can come back into the smaller form also. You have to surrender your cooperative bank license to the Reserve Bank of India. Once it is get approved, then you can come back as a a smaller kind of society or a simple kind of society, which is normally called thrift and credit society.
Okay,
But
sir.
you see the word which is being used is wound up. Wound up means your operation is not only wound up, you are itself is wound up. So once you are wound up, that you can't come and operate as any kind of society. Wound up means you have been closed.
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. So the next question is it mandatorily required for making provision for federation levy? And can the cooperative avoid making such provisions in its profit?
Can you repeat the last line? You are talking about the federation.
Federation levy, sir.
Uh, what is the next para?
So the next para is can the cooperative avoid making such provisions in its profit?
Actually, I'm not very much clear about the questions. But what I have understood that we are talking about some provisions in the federation and some provisions in the cooperative. I am not very much clear about the clarity, having the clarity from the questions, but I'm trying to explain it. That if somebody is asking that what is the federation, we need to understand the federation is nothing but an organizations where the many cooperative society become the member. Okay, the federation is a larger form. There are, let's say, 10 cooperative society, and these 10 cooperative society become the member of federation. What is the role of federation? The role of the federation to take care of the interest of these cooperative society. They are representing to the government for any kind of problems which is being faced by the cooperative society. So let's say if I talks about that I am a group housing society, so my federation where I am becoming a member should also be that kind of federation where the group housing societies are member. But however, it is not an compulsion. The federation can be a kind of federation which have a multi kind of activity cooperative society, because there are certain common problems. For example, if we have an management problems or other issues, so if the federation can make a members of other society, those are not having the common objective or the same objective. Because as a federation you have your own objective, as a cooperative society you have your own objective. So I become member of the federation for some specific purpose.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So there is a last question, and one of the participant is asking, can you please provide your guidance on how to get empaneled with cooperative society, and what is the authority which appoints a CFM, or does it depends on the sector?
No. You see, as I told you, there are two kinds of registrar. One is the central registrar, another is the state registrar. So registrar is making the panel of the chartered accountant, which is normally applicable for 3 years. So a registrar, invite the applications, and the chartered accountants, apply under that application to the registrar, and depending upon their hello, I am audible.
Yes, sir.
You see, the registrar will not empanel any chartered accountant firm. Those are having their head office out of the state. Like for a chartered accountant, I am having head office in Mumbai. I cannot be in the panel of the Delhi registrar. I will be a panel under the panel of the only Maharashtra registrar. So registrar is normally after a certain duration inviting the application from the chartered accountants. The chartered accountant needs to apply and get them paneled, and that panel list is valid for normally for 3 years. So they have to see that, whenever the information comes, normally they write a letter to the institute also to spread over this kind of information among the members.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much. We have covered all the questions that we have received, and I would like to say thank you on the behalf of Professional Development Committee of ICI for sparing a very valuable time for today's session. It was really a very great session, and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much of all of you and the PDC as well as the viewers. Those have listened me very patiently, and I hope they like my presentation on these particular topics, and even they need some clarity on other on other related topics and the subjects. They can write to PDC, and the PDC can forward the same to me for the relevant answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, moving forward, I would like to invite the next faculty for the webinar, Advocate Vijay Kulkarni ji. And before I request him to start the session, I would like to give a brief introduction about him. So, Vijay Kulkarni ji is an advocate in High Court. He is a member of the Bombay Bar Association, Bombay City Civil and Session Court Bar Association, Bombay Advocates Association, Small Causes Courts of India. Till date, he has provided his legal services to so many big corporates and also to individual clients. He is a panel advocate for Honorable Bombay High Court, for Maharashtra State Council, for occupational therapy and physiotherapy. He is also involved in so many social activities. He is a secretary of Vidya Prasarak Mandal in Bombay and so many other organizations also. And today he will be sharing his knowledge on unlimited opportunities in cooperative society, networking to serve and stay connected. So, sir, I welcome you today in this session, and I am requesting you, please start your topic, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Whether you can stream?
So we can see the PPT.
PPT you can see. Yes. First, foremost, I thank Institute of Chartered Accountants, Delhi, Northern Region for the wonderful opportunity which I am getting since a month. This is my third appearance for various purposes. Now, my topic is slightly relating to my profile as a business advisor or I was working as a chief manager with ICICI Bank in retail investment banking retail division. So expanding business was one of my key area. Now expanding the practice is given to me. First and foremost, on this occasion of 75th year Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the institution is organizing this kind of events. We are very thankful and we wish our nation to prosper for another 75 years and also going forward. And with the help of all the committed professionals, we will make sure that the country grows. Now, I would like to start my presentation. My presentation is most of the contents are pertaining to the practical aspects of developing a professional's career. It has nothing to do majorly with law. It is majorly connected with the practice and day-to-day challenges which we are facing, either external and internal. There are various opportunities which are in front of our eyes, but generally we don't really treat them as an opportunity. Either we treat them as a routine job or we treat them as a challenges or pain area at times. How can we convert these opportunities into practice opportunities? How can we convert these challenges into practice opportunities? How can we convert these pain areas into practice opportunities is going to be my subject matter of today's presentation. Now, first of all, opportunities. Area at societies. It's a plain.
So, sorry to interrupt, but your slides are stuck at one place.
Okay.
We
Now
can see the slideshow.
you can see.
No, sir.
I'll again stop.
Sure.
Now you can see the
Not yet,
slides.
sir. No, sir. We can still see the front slide of unlimited opportunities at cooperative sector.
Just
Yes, sir. Now it is.
now it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Opportunities areas at societies you can see, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is it clear now?
So the slideshow hasn't started yet.
Started, no? Opportunities
No, the
areas at.
slideshow hasn't started. We can see the PPT, but not the slideshow.
Okay. This is clear now. I'll go by this slide.
This is clear. Yes, sir.
So you can read the contents, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what I'm going to talk about is the opportunities, the areas which are part of the societies. As you know, societies, like you have housing societies, you have credit societies, you have other cooperative societies, you have plot owner societies, you have consumer societies, you have any other type of societies which are formed within the permissible limits of law. Now, what all you can do here, that I'll cover in subsequent slides. The main areas which I'm going to cover today is, one is opportunities at CHS. I have named credit, consumer, plot owners. I'm going to narrate how we can handle RERA as a chartered accountant and as a consultant chartered accountant who is empowered to appear before the authority. As far as professional accounting is concerned, whether you are now presently doing end-to-end or only restricted to mandate. Statutory audit, analysis, certain preventions and suggested measures, will writing, valuation and related consultation, automation, projects consultation with banks, societies, credit association, federation, city level, etc. MIS and miscellaneous, and reporting. So this is one area, one slide, which I will take maximum time in today's discussion. when we say that we need opportunities. So now slightly for about 30 seconds, I'll shift to this particular slide. This is very interesting. When I'm saying opportunities, first of all, why I need an opportunity. Traditionally, when I used to say, if I am a chartered accountant, you are always full of work. You're always full of opportunities. But whether the same situation is continuing, answer is yes as well as no. Why? Who is responsible? Both internal and external reasons. What are those internal reasons? Your partners are leaving, they are starting their firm, your juniors are moving, and you have other related reasons. High property cost, you can't afford the rent in the changing scenario. External reasons, this is most important. Internal reasons are very less in practice in terms of challenges. You have external reasons for which the practice will go up. You have internal reasons for which the practical point which is covered for the practice which goes down. So this up and down both are attributable to internal as well as external reasons. So when a practice is going up, you are too busy, you don't really bother why things are going up. You are busy in catering to your clients, you are busy in compliance, you are busy attending tribunals, you are busy attending authorities, tribunals. But when it goes down, what happens? You still manage, you still go ahead, you still try to survive in your practice. External factors are very, very unpredictable, like government. You can't predict what is going to happen in budget. Today, when you are having a tax audit limit as say 5 crores, 10 crore or 1 crore rupees, the revision as and when it has happened from a 25 lakh rupees till today, whatever is the limit, it has directly impacted your practice. So now when these internal as well as external factors touch your areas of practice, which will cause ups and downs, therefore you need to be open to think about opportunities. So that is why this session today. So now let's come back to the previous slide. See, a typical observation, I don't call it as an error. Typical observation by myself as regards the practice of a chartered accountant is concerned, because coincidentally I am also a chairman of my society, and also I am secretary of an education institution which has nearly 5,000 students and very wide presence. In my practice of about 13 years and also as a banker for about 12 years, I have to say one thing, that hardly I have seen any chartered accountant coming forward to canvas what he is doing in addition to the typical role assigned by the client. This is most important. So as far as opportunities are concerned, there are n number of opportunities and unlimited opportunities within the cooperative housing society, within the credit society, within the consumer society, within the plot owner society. What are those opportunities? Quickly, I will cover. When you talk about a cooperative housing society, you are a chartered accountant. What kind of mandates you can target, you can aim for? First and foremost, the challenge is, as Mr. Anil Agarwal sir was suggesting, that you need to first of all get empaneled or registered with the cooperative department. Now, I would like to suggest, instead of chartered accountants, one thing, that your team at your senior level, at the chairperson, chairman's level, you should arrange a meeting with the government wherein a consolidated list of such professionals, chartered accountants or advocates or whatever, you have to push for registering at one particular place, the list of such professionals who can cater to cooperative requirements. It may start with your department, Delhi. Now the thing is, why you need it? But generally what happens, suppose if you have 5 branches in Delhi, there are multiple wards. We need to understand the practice. So the moment you are a chartered accountant, the institute should provide a list of all such areas wherein at the initial stage of practice, you can just go and register. It's a most important action point. Once you have a centralized register at a state level or a union territory level, it becomes very easy for a chartered accountant to go ahead and take up the work at any corner of the respective territory. So I don't know whether Delhi has this kind of practice, especially in Mumbai or Maharashtra. I have not seen that state level registration. So even if it is available at a ward level or something, if it is available, it has to be published in two ways. The government has to publish that this is my list of chartered accountants across Delhi, across Mumbai, across India, across Maharashtra. So you can just go ahead and give them work. Their date of enrollment is so and so, and the expiry date is so and so, the end of tenure, and then renewal. You need to also advise the government in publicizing for how many terms you have been appointed as a chartered accountant in individual capacity or as a firm. Why I am mentioning this? See, today in cooperative department, many things are happening mechanically because this department is lacking advisors, because the department is having a lot of political intervention. Like if you see income tax department, whether there is any political intervention, which politician would like to come forward and modify any circulars? Nobody would like to even talk about. So when it comes to cooperative society, housing society, land, conveyance, RERA, everybody would like to see that they are involved here because it's a very lucrative area. And it is something which connects with your vote bank, society, property, your investments, your assets, your belongings, and your social status and other things. So therefore, registration of chartered accountant at a state level is most important thing which must be done. And related communication. When you communicate that the state CA or CA firm has been appointed by the state government or renewed his enrollment or a registration for multiple terms, that itself will talk about goodwill of a person and his credibility in the practice. Now, as far as cooperative housing society is concerned, how you can find an opportunity? You are absolutely wrong as a chartered accountant if you say that by merely getting account of a cooperative society for the purpose of audit, I am done. That is absolutely incorrect way of expanding the practice or treating the practice or doing practice. The moment you get an entry into the cooperative society, what generally people avoid? People avoid people. That is the chartered accountants or any consultant, generally they try to cater to the requirement that I get hardly 5,000 rupees. There is a stipulation 100 rupees in Maharashtra, 100 rupees per society member as an audit fee. So why should I bother? When I upload an income tax return, I earn 5,000 or 2,000. Why should I bother? No, that is not a correct way of looking at this. See, today in my society, there are 45 members. If you as a chartered accountant voluntarily come and sit in the AGM every year, it is possible that you will be able to circulate 45 visiting cards. So for anything and everything you do with cooperative society, there is a market for you. That you have to remember. Next, within that cooperative society, when you distribute your visiting cards, who is the chairman? Who is the secretary? Who is the treasurer? What is their business? What is their profession? See, you need to take out time. That's most important. Opportunities will never come to you. One opportunity has come to you as an auditor of the cooperative society. That's over. No, you should create multiple opportunities from opportunity. Next, in other words, every society, every flat owner, every member of the society is your potential client. What all you can do for this person, a member or 45 members in my case, you can do anything. You can do everything. As far as the credit is concerned, credit societies are concerned, you can play a role in credit appraisals, you can play a role in advisory, you can play a role in assets management, you can play a role in credit management, you can play a role in restructuring of the default, you can play a role in meeting the clients, advising the banks and societies. As far as the consumer cooperative society is concerned, here you have unlimited opportunity again. So when you take up a client's case as a consumer cooperative society auditor or accountant, you need to ensure that you publicize your existence as a consultant, as a chair, as a cooperative society accountant, auditor, or advisor to every client. How you can do this? Whether you are in a position to circulate free balance sheet, how you can do that? That I will subsequent slides I will cover under different topic. Plot owners. When you are an auditor for a society which is a plot owner society, you are having opportunity to deal with every plot and related papers and the owner. How? As far as CIBIL is concerned, you need to understand whether a borrower is a plot owner or plot owner is coming with the own funds. What are the tax related benefits? What are the best financial mechanisms wherein he can easily become a plot owner, continue to remain as a plot owner, and other opportunities? So as a chartered accountant, you can mention to the client various tax benefits, various provisions for a single transaction, how he can get benefit while paying income tax, while paying other tax, capital gain and all that, how he can definitely optimize his financial sector, his own area of finance. Now next area is RERA. As far as RERA is concerned, it is one of the untapped area. Why it is untapped area? The approach is restricted towards only dispute. That's not correct. There are various compliances, various reports, various ways in which a consultant can get involved, a chartered accountant, including submissions of reports, certification of payments, account balances, and various licensing with architects as well as builder as well as society. So when you are a mere cooperative society auditor, you should definitely develop excellent relationship with the committee. You should take out time to visit the committee and understand who's doing what. So while you continue to remain as the auditor or accountant for the society, you can definitely enhance your practice by asking questions, by making your representations that we are experts in these kind of areas also, and we generally provide facilities in terms of service, in terms of consultation and all that. Somehow you should make sure that you are known in this particular sector. Professional accounting end to end. As far as professional accounting is concerned, when I mean professional accounting end to end, it is not mere preparation of balance sheet. Whether further analysis is done, whether you are acting as a guide to the society. Suppose in any society, if idle funds are lying in the bank account, whether treasurer, secretary, chairman, they are looking into this or not. What presently chartered accountants are doing in my case, generally because of very low fees, the advice is not coming out from the chartered accountants because the mere formality of automated accounting is somewhere making us to compromise on the expert advice from the chartered accountant. So you can engage interns, give them a balance sheet copy, and then give them value added service that why you have kept 10 lakh rupees in your bank, you could have parked in a cooperative bank for a higher FD. You can incentivize the junior for doing this kind of analysis. So as a chartered accountant, instead of just saying that 45 members, all accounting standards are complied, everything is proper, you can go 10 steps further, understand the contents of the bank statement, measure the typical transactions, delays, other things. So when you go ahead and do something better, what happens? You may not get 100 rupees more. Please understand. Recently, I met one of my client who is a CEO of an international school in Mumbai. He told me surprisingly, for the first time I heard from a person, when we take up a role in a cooperative society, we think that it is a thankless job because it is an honorary job. The concerned CEO of that international school and related group companies told me that, sir, I got this job because when I was handling a profile as a honorary chairman for my housing society, I was absolutely honest. I was very strict in terms of my accounting, reporting, uploading, recovery of the interest under section 101 and all that. So the point here is, as a chartered accountant, when you are doing your diligent role in terms of audit, scrutiny, reporting, presentation, and doing certain things extra, though for no fees, you are definitely requested to understand that the person who is receiving your report may be a CEO of a company. So the relationship is not ending with only 100 rupees per member fees. So that particular communication by way of a balance sheet report or your value added advice, which may be one pager, it may reach a proper hand, which is a CEO's hand, then your practice will automatically enhance. Next, statutory audit analysis. And when you observe certain things in your analysis, you provide them service in terms of how to prevent this kind of analysis next year. Next is suggested measures. See, what I am trying to talk about in this
So,
professional
we
accounting.
still can't see the slides.
Now,
It's still stuck on the first slide.
now,
It's moving.
yeah, you are on second slide now.
Yes, the opportunity areas of societies.
Yes, I'm still on that one.
That's the only, okay.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to talk about is professional accounting end to end and statutory audit analysis prevention suggested measures. So here, all these things are interlinked. So we need to educate the chartered accountants who are juniors or even seniors that don't treat that your job is over by merely handing over a report to the society. There are two things. One is, if you just courier a cover, it will be still done. Like you will receive, I will receive, and then I will say thank you to you and I'll pay your fees. But instead of that, is it advisable to ensure that somebody goes from your firm to a sizable society where you have more than 50 members, 25 members, a brand new society where the valuation of every flat is more, or a building of a cooperative society is very costly, where there is a potential to serve people with potential. When you observe certain things, why don't you go and sit the committee with the office bearers for 1 hour, 2 hours and share these details in a one-to-one meeting? Then what will happen? You will exchange your visiting cards, you will have a cup of tea, and you will say that where you are working, what are you doing. So that relationship management is going to play a lot of role, important role. Now, one more small area, will writing. Actually speaking, it is not at all a small area. Will writing, will drafting is an area which is in demand. It's not a rocket science, it's a simple process, but when you get involved in these things, what all you can observe. When a person is asking you to draft his will, you will get into his net worth, his tax liabilities, his investments, his non-disclosures, his disclosures. There is a lot of scope for advisory. So will writing, even if you get merely 7,000, 5,000 rupees, you should never look into this kind of fees. It's like continuity in terms of practice. Wherever possible, you draft the will, you sign as a signatory, so that when the will is executed, your role comes and you serve the client and his next generation in executing the will in providing all related services, which also requires the next step, that is valuation and related consultation. What is valuation? So whether you do it yourself or you enable the valuation to be done by the approved valuer. So valuation is also a most important aspect of a practitioner's general practice, wherein either you do yourself or through your networking. And related consultation. Valuation and related consultation. A typical valuer will say that this is my amount. You take this report, give me 5,000 or 10,000, there ends my story. As far as the related consultation is concerned, when you get on to the facts and figures, there is an element of depreciation, there is an element of indexation, there is an element of various other components wherein a role of an expert chartered accountant is required. So for every stage, though your relationship is starting with 100 rupees per flat for a mere audit, from there you are enhancing your practice in all these possible manners. There are two things. You may not get a single case, but in any case, you will be able to convey to the client you are in a position to cater to these kind of requirements. Now, most importantly, automation. Project consultation with banks, societies, credit association, and federation at a city level, because it involves a lot of coordination, number of meetings, and interactions, consultation, vetting of the records, old records, various other activities. When I mean automation, you may say, I get tally by paying few thousand rupees. Why should I get into automation? No. Automation, when I mean, it is customization of softwares for a particular purpose. See, today, whatever you are going to do for one society, you can always replicate. What Tally is doing, it is doing a standard accounting which is practiced by many societies. But when you move forward and try to take up certain things, you can definitely enhance your practice. So therefore, as a chartered accountant, as an analytical person, you should get on to every project which your client is undertaking. Whether your client will invite you for a meeting with a software developer, or whether your client will invite you for a project planning committee meeting, no. How you are going to be invited? You have to cause the invitation through the contents of the balance sheet and profit and loss account, receipts and payments account. The moment that is there, you can play a role. You can develop yourself as a domain expert. By virtue of that, you will be developing another client, that is the corporate, the software development company, which is going to play a role in developing the software. So when your accounting knowledge, your advisory knowledge, your consultation related knowledge gets mixed up with the software company, you will be developing a product in itself. Now, MIS, the report
Hello. मैंने कांटेक्ट किया है, he's just joining back.
Yeah, am I audible, ma'am? Sorry, there was a network.
That's okay, sir. We can see you.
Yeah.
I'll just do one thing. I'll make you the co-host to share the PPT. Just give me a second.
Yeah. There is a lot of rains in Mumbai since 3-4 days, so the network is completely disturbed.
It's okay, sir.
Yeah, can you see the slide? You can see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I start again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as the city level federation and related automation is concerned, every chartered accountant should make sure that the domain expert knowledge available with the firm or individual should be explored. This is again one area where many firms or individuals are not active. It's untapped area. Banks, we need to make a simple questionnaire. Whenever you get a junior or article, you should make a minimum 10 points questionnaire, circulate it to your client as a questionnaire. When you have updated your software, what is the best possible way in which you can comply with today's regulations, today's reporting? So this is one area, because see, ultimately your client may be aware of these things, but still what happens when a communication a client receives a communication, it reminds about the chartered accountant. Please understand. Even if Tally is providing upgraded version, whether you are in touch with the client in that transaction, in that process, absolutely no, right? So here, what I am trying to suggest is, at every phase of automation, you should try to communicate with the client by way of a education series, by way of a typical communication, by way of a email or a phone call or a typical discussion when you have a meeting. Ask your client about automation, ensure that maximum things are automated. Now, as far as MIS and miscellaneous work is concerned, MIS is something which is absolutely having unbelievable opportunities. Like whatever controls you want to introduce, whatever regulations you are talking about, everything has an element of requirement of MIS. The management information system has to be introduced. See, today when we are talking about cooperative societies, it is not a typical one shop or a small hutment or a small unit where you have a 10 or 15 flats related opportunities to serve. Now in upcoming cities like Noida, Delhi, you are moving from a bungalow system to a multi-level housing apartments, federations. What used to happen in Mumbai about 50 years back, it is now happening in Delhi. In certain pockets, Delhi also has a high amount of number of cooperative societies, metropolitan city. So therefore, MIS support is most important. Miscellaneous work of a cooperative society. It involves drafting pleadings, response to certain complaints or queries. Wherever you want to get involved, get involved. Because ultimately, for an analytical person, every paper is an opportunity. So when you receive a query, like when you say that a so-and-so person is not well, so please make this person as a nominee so that he can administer the assets of a person. The moment somebody is not well, you can put a reasonable query. Can I help you in drafting a will? So a typical letter correspondence, annual maintenance contract, if there is an opportunity, you can get empaneled with a cooperative society for handling all these miscellaneous matters. So when a letter comes, you can probe into it. For your opportunities, you should get into it. And then reporting. Ask your client how you can take up all-inclusive reporting assignment. So here what happens? Today, in a metropolitan city like Delhi, a suburb like Andheri in Mumbai, or a Noida, or whatever you talk about, Ghaziabad, nobody would like to do these things. Everybody wants positions like secretary, treasurer. Oh, you do my job. So whether you can give me 1,000 rupees per year per society member, they will pass a resolution and give you. So all reporting can contain confirmation that all mandatory registers are maintained, all nominations are recorded, all returns are filed on time, financial control is in place, compliance to the previous year's audit reports, compliance to certain statutory deposits like sinking fund, education. So you can generate new type of reports so that when you maintain these kind of records and deeds and documents in your society, the asset value will get revised because your documents are equivalent to enhancement of assets value. Now, next slide. Record management is a very small area. If you have a larger premises, you can say that I will keep your records in my office. I will charge you something else. Expert advice and assistance. Suppose if somebody want advice, what advice? Like if a society is going for redevelopment, whether you would like to advise them, how the funds are flowing, when you are going to get the next installment as corpus fund, and any other advice. Assistance. Once I'm talking about advice, second I'm talking about assistance. When an advisor has given a proper role to the cooperative society management that you should provide these things, management say no, yaar, mere paas to time nahi, aap hi karo. Then what will happen? The same chartered accountant or his junior will become an assistant to the management. So therefore you can have an opportunity to assist the cooperative society. Now digitization. So you may say that I'm not a software engineer. Why you are talking about digitization in my opportunities? Yes, you have a role there. See, in Mumbai, what happened when the documents relating to the government city survey office and the registrar office was getting into digitization mode, there was an element of supervision which was required. So as far as digitization is concerned, a chartered accountant has a definite role which is untapped, that how can you have an internal audit for completion of the digitization project. This is most important. So at a relevant point of time, a chartered accountant firm or an individual can be appointed wherein a person goes and picks up any document and sample checks the contents of a software and also a displayed document with a physical document. So this is a one-time effort, because what happens, the credibility of the document wrongly uploaded, if it is in question, nobody is going to use the software, because if one sample is wrong, then the whole software is going to be questioned and the entire digitization project goes for a toss. So here you can create opportunities for yourself. Forensic audit, a big area. See, today, if you see today's newspaper on Google, also if you search, Amazon is asking for a forensic audit of Future Group, Future Retail's accounts. It has addressed a letter to the independent directors. See, today you are having multiple roles. If you are an auditor, you have to be extremely careful, because one of your brother will come and audit yourself, your accounts, your own, whole thing. So like in courts, how two advocates are contesting, fighting amongst themselves for saving their client and protecting its interest. So similarly, you have a role here. When a forensic audit is called for, another chartered accountant is getting into the role of an investigator and getting into the roles, accounting and other things, which are finalized, approved and audited and certified by another chartered accountant. So forensic audit is a big area. So though it is now widely practiced in NCLT, cooperative societies are also an area wherein you can definitely get into audit. When two committees hands, that is handover is taking place, when the balance sheet is in question, when the contents of a report is in question, you may go for an audit or if there are certain reasons to believe, you can order forensic audit. Okay, either it is a proactive or a cause of a court order, and wherein a tribunal or a court dictating you to ensure that you comply with this direction and come with a forensic audit and report. So here what happens? Two ways. One is, if you are a chartered accountant of a big cooperative society, you may get an opportunity to liaison with those forensic auditors. If there is a notice from a ED in a bigger cooperative society where you have 1000 society flats, which is after conveyed, you are the owner. So if the wrong transfer or vested interest people who have formed the cooperative society, then definitely there is a forensic audit. So you have two opportunities here, as a forensic auditor and also for a licensing person, consultant to the cooperative society, to ensure that right documents are handed over to the forensic auditors. So you can create some opportunities here. As far as litigation is concerned, sky is the limit. NCLT and RERA is one more area which has given a lot of scope for the cooperative societies. One more area of practice, mediation, disputes relating to residents. This you can practice in cooperative societies. And miscellaneous and MIS reporting on all these above items is one more area which you can again repeatedly practice here. This is one thing which is really talking about in terms of practice. Every area is a different subject matter in itself. It cannot be just covered in 1 or 2 hour session, but still I tried to make an attempt to ensure that we address this matter so that some opportunity is shown. Now, when we are saying these are the opportunities, how you want to really achieve it? How you want to achieve it? This is most important slide. What I'm talking about here is the areas of practice which we talked about is now going to get a proper focused attention of a partner of a CA institute or a CA himself. How you want to do it? You should have a focus on each element of new areas of practice on which day? Every day, including Sunday, 365 days. Because as I mentioned in my previous slides, external factors are going to kill your practice. External factors will overnight demolish your dreams, your expansion plans. Everything will go away the moment if your slab is modified from X to Y, your entire practice gets into a complete different zone. So you need to definitely think of opportunities for all 365 days, for which you need to have a complete focus 24 hours, for which you need to do certain things. You need to take certain steps. This slide is having certain questions, certain suggestions. First and foremost, set up a separate team and fix responsibility, assign role. Identify out of your 5 or 10 employees or articles, their work is only to think of opportunities and expansion. Prepare a roadmap and plan. Expansion only related discussion. You fix up a date every week, Saturday 2 hours, Friday 1 hour, or any other day. Nothing. Just discuss about expansion plan. Frequency, you can decide up nature of your practice, volume which you are handling. Any volume is less volume according to me, because you are planning to expand. Whether there is any database of societies. See, this is most important. Yesterday I was talking to my chartered accountant. I asked him whether you are maintaining a database. He said yes. Where is your database? It's in mobile phone. It's in my laptop. See, therefore I am telling you, when you are meeting once in a while in a proper disciplined manner to only expand your practice, you will think on this database. Looking at the database, seeing the database is different. Thinking on the database, thinking on expansion, how to use this database, how to meet these clients, your own clients I'm talking about. There is a proper strategic approach and discussion which is required. In addition to that, you need to ask yourself whether there is any database of office bearers of society who are your individual clients, whether you maintain that. If no, you need to quickly maintain that. Why? There is a potential in everyone. As I mentioned in my previous example, one CEO can give you one company audit, tax audit, hundreds of income tax returns related items, and then from their hundreds of returns, you may have 10 society office bearers, 10 other people who would like to change their chartered accountant, who would like to appoint a new chartered accountant because of 3 years of completion of the term. So opportunities everywhere. Next, whether the network of each client is maintained. See, you know somebody, so know your client, know your customer, whether you have maintained such kind of network. Whether you have maintained network of each client. For example, somebody refers me, sir, I got your number from so and so. So that second person is your network of your client. See, please understand. Somebody rightly mentioned, net worth is equal to or more than net worth. Network is most important. Net worth will come later on. So if an important client of yours is giving you a lead or a contact, that is nothing but money for you, nothing but fees for you. So handle it in a proper manner. So for that, you need to focus. You need to assign role to one employee or two employees or to a team. If you are a larger firm, their job is to only expand the business, expand the practice. Next, whether you have habit of conducting meeting on growth plan. If no, start today, right now. Growth plan is most important. You need to conduct meeting, because why I'm insisting for meeting? Because unless you sit in a room for a particular purpose, you will not pay attention. What happens in courts? Unless my number is called out, I am not attentive. Still, I am doing my practice. I am sitting in a court waiting for my number. So when my number is called out, my focus is fully on my brief, my paper. So here, when you try to talk about growth, focus attention, proper meeting, you have to conduct. If you are not conducting a meeting, conduct right now or start today, even for 5 minutes. Next, whether you have any plan for next 3 years, whether your plan is ready. See, if government is planning to introduce a budgetary change on 1st February, 1st March, whatever, government is preparing right now. Whether you are preparing, because you are completely dependent on, your practices depend on budget related decisions. So whether you have next 3-year plan. Suppose if tax audit goes from 25 lakh rupees to 1 crore, 1 crore to 10 crore, 10 crore to 100 crore, how you are going to sustain your practice? How you are going to manage your firm? Because one signature of the finance minister will completely change dynamics of your practice. So therefore, you need to have a very clear plan. Next, how you can achieve these things. So this is one more important slide, wherein you will join hands with professionals. You will stay networked. Okay, so you have to take out time for this. You can't say that, see, I will tell you how I practice. I don't handle certain areas of law. Consciously, I say I cannot, because I want to concentrate on research. I want to concentrate on certain projects. So for that purpose, I need to have 20 to 25% free time. So for networking, for opening your new branches, for joining certain teams, certain clubs, for meeting certain special people, you as a proprietor, you as a partner in a CA firm has to devote time. Then only you will be able to expand. So this slide talks about expansion. Now, one more thing, opportunities versus service. This is most important. When opportunities are there. Where are the opportunities? Opportunities are there in your mobile phone. Opportunities are there in your inbox. But whether you are actually working on it, whether you are consolidating it, whether you are putting it in a systematic manner, whether you are giving a proper thought to it, It's most important. You need to revisit these points. Provide list of services or area of expertise to the clients. Keep updating. See, don't send good morning, happy Diwali, happy Holi. All that will keep on happening. वो सब चलता ही रहेगा calendar moment. Whether you are telling your client that I have just recently succeeded in one of my tax tribunal matters, this is for your information. This is the order copy. Because there is nothing confidential. Everything is on internet now. So whether you are doing that, if no, start doing it. What happens? Oh, I had a similar matter. You never told me you are appearing in tribunal. So you need to provide list of services in some or the other manner to the client. Make a PDF file, have a WhatsApp group, form a WhatsApp group. Why use the word groups? You need to have a separate group. One is a general client base and separate group who are facing problems with RERA, taxation, cooperative registrar and other conveyancing and deemed conveyancing and all that. Then create your social media presence. You need to be everywhere. Keep writing articles in newspapers. You need to make media presentations. You need to have your updated blogs, news items and updates. Whatever you do, communicate to your client. You need to communicate, publish or perish, because now it cannot be called as a business, but unless you practice the methods of enhancing the business for enhancing your practice, you cannot stay in a competitive market. Conduct webinars, meetings, seminars, and lectures. As a chartered accountant, call all your clients. Recent development, taxation, files. So ultimately engage with client. Stay in touch. That's most important. Whether it is offline, online, you need not receive money from clients always. You need to give also. Give them a tea party, call for a tea meeting, chai pe charcha, taxation matters, RERA, latest developments. Call your friends who are architects, advocates. So then with this, what will happen? That idea generation will happen. When a chartered accountant calls for a meeting, I don't think anybody will say no for it. Next, have tie-up with colleges, teams, societies. With this, what will happen? Opportunities. You will be able to hire your interns. You don't know who's what. Suppose if you have a CEO's son as a final year BCom student, he will join you as an intern. They will give you company work. They will give you 10 things, a proprietor. So your ideas unlimited, opportunities unlimited. Next is social presence as much as possible. You should be known as a social figure in your community, in your area, wherever you go. Okay. Don't hesitate to give free advice. You should give free advice. It's part of our life. Never work only for money. Don't say that मुंह खोलने के लिए पैसा चाहिए. Never. Do whatever you want, but you know where to restrict, how to stop, where to stop, because any advice, like in one of my lectures, which I attended, the concerned speaker said, whatever you speak, people think that it's a legal advice. So therefore, whatever chartered accountant speaks in terms of finance, accounts, compliance, people think, your clients think that it is in the law. It is in your books. It is accounting standard. So we need to be very clear. Merely you are giving free advice, that does not mean that you give wrong advice. You need to give advice. Don't look for only money. Serve the client, create the trust. Rest of the success will automatically follow. There is no doubt about it. Next is, we are very selfish at times. We think that whatever 100 rupees you earn, it should stay in your pocket. It should not be the case. What happens? You need to develop yourself, your firm, your practice, number of branches. Simultaneously, you need to develop your juniors, articles. So you need to have a very decent mechanism of offering incentives, stipend, facilities, a simple helping hand to a junior, that just go and it is raining very heavily, go take this 500 rupees, go in a cab. Take it from me, you will get best results. So definitely create a situation which will ensure that the atmosphere of win-win is created. See, when this whole thing is talked about in this manner, win-win-win, you are going to achieve your goals. Okay. you need to invest some money in training. You need to develop your own resource, your own self, yourself as a chartered accountant. Go and attend certain seminars, webinars, and also skill development programs, wherein apart from your accounting and management and other things, something else is possible to learn, like arbitration, mediation, conciliation, various other skills. So please go and spend some money on training. Always think of win-win. A best way of resolving a dispute, best way of creating a happy work culture, best way of client management is win-win. Concentrate on this goal. Now, while you do these things, you need to be very, very clear that you take certain precautions. Like when we talk on certain things, you need to understand which are those regulations wherein you have limited scope for publicizing certain things. Like you can't say that, oh, you just default a check, I am here to protect as an advocate. No, it is not publicity. So you can't say that just don't pay tax, I will ensure that nothing happens to you. No. So there is a code of conduct. So you have to offer your services within that. Restriction on advertisement. You can't put a banner saying that, oh, I am a chartered accountant, I will give you 25% discount. No, you can't do it. You have to restrict yourself while you solicit practice. You need to practice everything which is part of your code of conduct, your norms which are part of your association, your own institute. Because to practice certain things, you need to be compliant. You need to be aware of those compliances. Any other factors, regulatory restrictions, latest judgments, latest norms, ministry, circulars, this, that, everything you have to ensure you comply. Once you comply, then you have moral and social legal responsibility to advise your client. Because if you are non-compliant, you can't advise. Lastly, keep searching for new opportunities on a daily basis. Daily basis. There is no Sunday for a practitioner. When you don't have any work, that day is your Sunday. When you don't have work for 10 days, that is your vacation. Go with family. So therefore, this is my last slide. Thank you very much. I am now happy to take any queries arising out of this brief presentation. Thank you very much. And for your information, I had not prepared any presentation. I came to know from Agarwal sir that presentation, when he started publishing, showing his presentation. While listening to him, I prepared this presentation. It was not planned. Thank you.
So even Anil sir didn't plan to give the presentation. It just happened.
Okay, but I utilized that available time to make my presentation. I presented.
It definitely was a very nice presentation. We'll move forward with the questions now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So we have few questions. So we will take it one by one.
Yeah.
So first question is, what happens if the cooperative society is involved in fraud, and who has the power to investigate the fraud under Cooperative Act?
Cooperative society is involved in fraud.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, that is in any case you are going to do. As far as investigating the fraud is concerned, the powers are with the government auditors. So you need to report this particular transaction to the registrar, who will escalate this matter within their high. Yeah. Hello. There was a discussion. As far as power of investigation is concerned, you can do that only by way of an order, generally from the Joint Registrar's Office. When the dispute gets escalated, the government auditors who are empaneled, they are supposed to advise for a filing of an FIR and all other things. So you can't directly do that as a to initiate due process, go to the registrar, everything comes under registrar.
Okay, sir. Sir, next question is whether income tax law is applicable to primary agriculture credit society whose turnover is less than 10 crore.
I think that question has to be taken by some chartered accountant practicing. I'll not be able to answer because I don't touch that area actually.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have a case study based question and वो क्वेश्चन नहीं है. Okay, sir. So that was the only question. And another question is related to income tax. If you allow us, can we share with you, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, one of the participant is asking, is TDS is applicable to primary agriculture credit society?
Again, it's a taxation query. You can, I am an advocate. I can.
Okay. Okay, got it, sir.
Any questions on enhancement of practice or slides which I have covered? Any question on the relevant slides?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, because see, what we are talking about is opportunities relating to enhancement of your practice, right? So the queries they have raised are relating to either a taxation related advice or queries to be put to a senior practitioner in terms of it is a query on a subject. Both the queries are actually queries on a particular subject. So I am covering opportunities.
Right, sir.
So one of the participants asked that career opportunities that are different from non-cooperative sector.
Career opportunities
that are different from non-cooperative sector.
How?
And is there an age limit to get into this for the new opportunities in cooperative sector?
No, as long as you are alive, you can practice.
Okay.
No age.
So one more. What are the professional opportunities in urban cooperative banks?
Lot of so everything like opportunities in the sense you can do a lot of credit assessment, you can do advisory services, you can think of commenting on a profile of a client. So mandates you should be able to first of all you need to highlight your area of expertise and what are the opportunities available with the urban cooperative development, the bank or society. Based on that, you can take up anything. I think even CIBIL comments and the history of observations or defaults or settlements. So you can get into this kind of analysis. If there is a rating which is applicable, you can comment on that. You can give your further report, cross opinion, or you can get onto their board. Okay, for elimination, like in case of frauds, there is a department in private bank, fraud prevention cell. So like that, if there is no such cell, you can definitely advise the banks or societies to introduce such precautionary cells. Like in one of my clients, which is the pharma company, I told them to have a full-time retainer for their construction work. So you can create such opportunities for yourself. Based on that, we could save a lot of money, though there are some minor fees applicable, but you can definitely have a easy access to the client to ensure that everything is shown to you and you give your advice. So you can create opportunities for them. Like as a chartered accountant, when you are scrutinizing the books of accounts, the bad debts, the writing of which these banks are doing, that itself becomes a very good material for you to enhance your practice. Every return of amount gives you a liberty to get into. Every return of transaction is a case study for me. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions. And I would like to say thanks on behalf of Professional Development Committee of VCM for sparing your very valuable time for today's session. Thank you so much, sir.
Many participants are there.
Really wonderful session, sir.
Thank you very much. How many participants See the
Sir, it is more than 2,500. I guess we have crossed
oh,
3,000 participants.
total participants. Great, great.
Yes,
sir.
Yeah, thank you.
We're
Thank
just monitoring, so we have already crossed 2,500. I think it'll be 3,000 by now.
Okay, great, great. See, when you have a level badminton player as a chairperson, you will definitely have many.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So now moving forward, I would like to invite the next faculty for the webinar, Advocate Dr. Gaurav Gupta ji. He is a graduate from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University, and a law graduate from Delhi University. He is a fellow member of ICAI. He has completed his Master of Laws in 2021 from OP Jindal Global University. He has completed his ISA post-qualification course of ICAI. He has obtained his doctorate in taxation from University of France. He is practicing as an advocate in Delhi High Court and tax tribunals. He has more than 18 years of experience in indirect taxation. He specializes in handling enforcements, audits, litigations matter in indirect taxes in India. He is also author to books on many titles on GST and service tax. He has contributed to various publications of Indirect Tax Committee of ICAI. He has addressed more than 600 seminars on indirect taxes in various forums, seminars, conferences, etc., organized by professional bodies and associations including PhD Chamber of Commerce, ICAI, ICSI, Swiss Bar Association, National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Southern Gujarat Commercial Tax Bar Association, etc. He is also faculty on GST and indirect tax organized by ICAI, GST Commissionerate, etc. So I welcome you, sir, on today's seminar, and I am requesting you, please start the session, sir.
Thank you, Priyaji. At the outset, I thank the committee, our chairperson, CA Kimisha Soniji, Vice Chairman, CA Prasanna Kumarji, for inviting me today to deliberate on this particular topic. My dear friend, this area of opportunities in cooperative sector is actually a very untapped area by most of the practitioners, particularly chartered accountants. When we talk about this particular area, we only look at a limited perspective or purview of going for an audit. But if you look into the recent developments from the taxation perspective, more particularly the indirect taxes, there is a long list of things which we can help this particular sector with, starting with their compliances with GST. The advent and the number or the quantum of compliances which has come up in this particular sector has increased manifold. Starting with the very concept or very question of the levy itself, I think it is, we have a lot of opportunity in terms of, number one, advising all the bodies which are into cooperative sector, whether they fall within the ambit of the levy of GST itself or not. Number two, if they do not fall, or in case they decide that they will be taking the benefit of principles of mutuality, then in that particular case, what are the perils or what are the risks they are taking or they can face? And number three, in case such particular bodies, which you will find that from many years they have not taken registration, if they become compliant today, what are again the perils or what are the risks associated with initiation of those particular compliances? So starting with the very first question, when you have to face them and speak about a cooperative sector, the biggest, I would say, the fundamental of a cooperative sector is, though they have a separate legal entity, but the base in many of the cooperative sector bodies, it remains that they are bodies which have come into existence through self-help groups or through mutual cooperation. They will be having a membership which will be open to the members who contribute to the existence of that particular body, and that member will be the benefiter from that particular body only. It is not something that general public is being provided services or supply of goods for that matter. In some of the cooperative society, yes, we are dealing with thirds. So for example, the farmer cooperative society for that matter, now there will be two limbs to that particular transaction. One will be between the society and the buyers of the products, where the entire produce has been assimilated, accumulated at one place and then sold to the buyer. And the second transaction would be inter se between the farmer and the cooperative society. Same case happens with handloom sectors, or for that matter, handicraft sector. You will be finding these kinds of body very active, where your single unit supplier or single unit person is not prominent enough to play an important or to dominate the market. Or in other words, we can say that particular person is too weak to be dominated by the market. This particular kind of a structure, which we call as the self-help groups, they come into existence to protect the interest of that particular single individual. And as a strength or as a force of that particular coming together, they are able to put themselves into a position where they can better bargain. Now, coming together is not to their, I would say, not to their negative. वो उनके लिए कोई negative चीज नहीं है. This goes into their strength, and they are actually in a position where they will find that yes, while they are able to bargain better rates, the only thing which becomes a point of trouble for them is the increased compliances in taxation. So the first thing which you will have to ask or understand, whether these particular bodies are, though they are a separate legal entity, do they fall within the ambit of the mutual cooperation, mutuality, and do you need to actually charge tax inter se between the body and the members, the transactions between them. Number 3, these bodies are voluntary association. Many of the bodies you will also find they will dissolve on the death, insolvency or leniency of all the members. So I'm not talking about a single member, but if the body is deriving its sole existence from the existence of the members, then definitely the body is altogether dependent on the members. Adding a member or taking out the membership of a person definitely impacts such particular bodies. Again, you will also find that there is a lot of state control or monitoring in case of some of the cooperative bodies. Be very, very careful when you are dealing with such particular bodies, because again, in those particular bodies, you will also have to factor the amount of control, the amount of discussion, the amount of communications which you make before taking any specific position or taking any specific decision in these kinds of bodies. Fourth, there is a social management. There is a body which is an elected body, and you will be again finding the challenge that many a times every year the body changes. And when you're talking about the taxing positions, these particular people, the position keeps on changing. One of the groups will say, yes, we should get ourselves registered. Next year, the other group is elected and they say, no, you have done a mistake. You have taken a registration wrongly. For that matter, you have taken a income tax benefit registration or GST registration. For all these issues, the whole perception, the whole idea, the whole decision changes with the change in the management, because it's a person-driven decision. It is more dependent on the ideology of the body being selected, particularly guided by the president or the chairperson of that particular body. Last but not the least, the service motive. It is most of the bodies are not for profit bodies, but when you're saying not for profit motive, not for profit for the members, not for the third parties. They are not charitable. They are cooperative. So while they are aiming not to earn any profits per se, but to survive while serving their members, they are not charitable in terms of serving the society as a whole in most of the cases. So please try to distinguish them very carefully, very clearly. Everything which goes into this particular body will definitely be in the form of a consideration. Now, I'm very selectively using two words. One is consideration, the other is contribution, and the third one is donation. or grants. So donation and grants are more or less synonyms, though they have their own very peculiar differences. But I'm not going into detail between donation and grants. Donation or grants, for that matter, you can correlate with the charitable bodies. With cooperative, you have to understand two primary terms, one of which is contribution and the other one is the consideration. What is contribution? When the members pool in their funds to get a common benefit, to get a common third party goods or services, and to distribute these particular services either to the benefit or to the member. Now I'm using both the words, to the benefit and to the member. So if it is a procurement, it will be to the members. Every member will get a share of that procurement. And if these common services are being applied for the common assets, common body, common area, or common structures of the member, then in that particular case, it will be to the common benefit of the member. For example, in case of a RWA, what happens? The RWA is an elected body which will procure, give the contracts for outsourcing of many AMCs and similar things. And when they are giving these particular things, the body which is providing services is not providing to an individual member, but to the benefit of all the members. So are they providing it to the member? While they are providing, ultimate benefit reaches to the member. It cannot be said that the acquisition and the provision is happening on a per member kind of a basis. So while it may be per rem, if you look at from the perspective of the body, it is not excluding, it is not in personam for each of the members. So be very, very careful when you are taking or looking at those particular decisions in terms of common acquisitions vis-a-vis common benefits. Now, when we speak about the concept of mutuality, the underlying concept is, we have to travel back as late as the decision of CB in Dublin Corporation versus M. Adam, where it was said that no man can trade with himself. You cannot, in any manner, make a taxable profit by dealing with yourself. You can't sell to yourself and make a profit. That was a simple statement which was made in that particular case. The concept has traveled to many courts in different forms, in income tax also, in GST also, in service tax also, in VAT also. So a lot of cases have been made, have been litigated in past, and to the extent of the highest forum in the country, the apex court, Honorable Supreme Court, many cases have gone, but the most celebrated decision, which has recently in 2019, which has traveled to Honorable Supreme Court, was a state of West Bengal versus Calcutta Club Limited. Now, this particular decision is celebrated as a landmark decision because it factors your already laid down landmark decision. It takes into consideration the Young Men's Indian Association, Sports Club of Gujarat, Campsport Club decision, for that matter, Ranchi Club decision. All those decisions are taken into factor by this Supreme Court decision. And you will be, my dear friends, whenever you will talk about mutuality, this one decision, State of West Bengal versus Calcutta Club Limited, is definitely something which you should resort to. Now, before I come to it, let me also speak about Young Men's India Association, Madras versus, the decision of Honorable Supreme Court. In this particular case, it was very clear that a service cannot be said to be rendered if mutuality exists. It is not important that service provider and service receiver are separate legal entities. Now, what is the court looking at? It is basically looking at that just because there is a separate legal entity, I am an individual and so are you, and we 50 people have come together to form a AOP, Association of Persons, which is effectively nothing but an assimilation of we 50 only. If we are buying, selling something inter se between the body and the members, that particular thing, even though there are two distinct legal entities, it cannot be said that there will be a rendition or provision of service. It is a case where mutuality exists, and therefore that will not be read to the detriment of those particular members. Similar decisions were on the concept of mutuality were upheld In the case of Campsport Club, if you look into Saturday Club, Sports Club of Gujarat, Ranchi Club Limited. So while Sports Club was dealing with service tax, Honorable Gujarat High Court held in the favor of the SSC. Ranchi Club, or for that matter, Campsport Club, were more from the income tax perspective in terms of taxing the income considering the concept of mutuality. So time and again, the question which has come up is if there is a mutuality, will GST, service tax, VAT, any of the indirect taxes, will it be applicable? And for that matter, income tax also. My dear friend, if mutuality exists, there will be no tax. Now, the government has time and again made several attempts to bring in a deeming provision in one way or the other to tax these kinds of mutuality-based transaction. In service tax, they brought in a separate person fiction between the unincorporated body or a body of a person will be deemed as a distinct person from the members. That particular distinction or a deeming fiction did not help the government, because in the case, again, the recent case of State of West Bengal versus Calcutta Club Limited, the Honorable Supreme Court very categorically denied the taxability inter se between such unincorporated bodies and the members, just because these are two different persons. As per the deeming fiction of the law, this will not take away the mutuality. One cannot trade with himself. Similarly, in VAT, Article 366(29)(a), subclause E of the Constitution, a tax on the supply of goods by any unincorporated body or body of person to a member for cash, deferred payment, or other valuable consideration. Now, mark these words, my dear friend. The words are for cash, deferred payment, or other valuable consideration. I understand many of the members, it might be ringing some bell. They have heard it very recently. Where they have heard it very recently, they have heard it in terms of an introduction in Section 7 of the Central Goods and Services Tax Act 2017, where under Section 7, subsection 1, there is a clause AA, which was introduced by the government in the last budget, wherein again a deeming fiction was brought in, and the government again tried to tax that particular transaction by bringing in that particular clause. Let me read out verbatim what the government brought in, and again you will be looking, or you will be finding that these are no new terms, these existed earlier also, and why the government will not now also be able to tax these kinds of transaction. So 7 subsection 1 subclause A says the activity or transaction by a person other than an individual to its member or constituents or vice versa. So between members and the body. For the words which I just read in Article 366(29)(a), subclause E. Now the same words are being used or taken in this particular subsection also. So supply includes activities or transaction by a person other than individual to its member or constituents or vice versa for cash, deferred payment, or other valuable consideration. Now, when you look into the term consideration, again, this particular term has been very well defined in Section 2 of the CGST Act. Now, my dear friend, please remember consideration, though I can read out and I can also deliberate on consideration, which is defined in Section 2, subsection 31 of the CGST Act. The word consideration has a very specific linkage. It has a linkage to the contract. It has the linkage to the privity of undertaking or receiving any goods or services. It has a privity with the liability to pay for such particular services. So consideration basically triggers as a liability for a particular act of supply made by the supplier to the recipient. So it is no donation, it is no gift. It is again an accrual of a liability to pay if you are the recipient of the goods or services. So it is in response of, in respect of, or for the inducement of a supply. In case of members and the bodies, my dear friend, do you have a consideration if I'm working, if I am getting the goods for myself and those goods are reaching to me for which I have pooled in funds? Do you think that will be called a consideration? No, sir. Here is where the second term which I used, consideration versus contribution. The word contribution comes into play. So the members are giving to the body a contribution for procurement, which of goods or services which may go to them directly or which may go to their benefit as a whole. So in both the cases, my dear friend, you have to very categorically understand, even though section 7 subsection 1 clause AA has been introduced by the government in GST Act, but since it is only talking about the transaction where there is inter se between the members and the body, there is an exchange of goods and services for which there is a consideration which is required to be paid by the member. It is not a part of the contribution made by the member, then it is taxable. When it can be said to be a consideration, it can be said to be a consideration where the member will come, we will acquire a property which is for supply, not from the pool of funds contributed and not as a matter of right for being a member. But when the member comes and acquire that property, and the benefit of such particular acquisition will go to the body and will be distributed between the members per se. So if we speak about an example of RWA, अगर हम RWA की बात करें, रेजिडेंट वेलफेयर एसोसिएशंस की बात करें, वहां पर ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है which will go or taken from the member and it will be going to the benefit of the pool. Everything there is more in the form of a contribution. Everyone in the society, in the locality, in the residential block contributes. Funds are assimilated, a common service is taken. That can be security services, that can be cleaning services, that can be, for that matter, some celebration services, maintenance services, paint services, carpenter services, anything which goes into the maintenance of the common area and the common good of all the members. And therefore, what I, being a member of that RWA, is giving is a contribution and not consideration, because I am not the recipient of that particular thing from the RWA. RWA as a whole is receiving on payment from a third party. So I hope I am making myself very clear when we are speaking to these particular bodies. The first thing which we confront is whether we are having any kind of taxation implication. Till the point you are falling within the ambit of contributions, you can rest your case. But in case you are falling within the ambit of consideration, my dear friends, you have to look into a lot of things. So for VAT and service tax, Honorable Supreme Court, in the case of State of West Bengal versus Calcutta Club Limited, read the law in the favor of the taxpayer, and it has been held that if the mutuality exists, it will not be a taxable transaction, but otherwise it will become a taxable transaction. So for VAT and service tax, the law is more or less settled. By introduction of 7(1)AA, in my humble opinion, no new taxability has arisen, though it is a retrospective amendment which is brought in from 1st of July 2017. I don't think you have to fear out on this particular point, considering the Honorable Supreme Court decision in Calcutta Club. Read that decision very thoroughly, look into the language of article of the 366(29)A, subclause E of the Constitution, and look into the language of this particular section 7, subsection 1, subclause AA. You will find, my dear friend, that particular decision will equally be applicable in GST cases also, and you will not find GST leviable in such particular cases as well. Why we are stressing so much on the taxability per se between the members and the body? My dear friends, please do note that this particular thing will not be taken as a credit or will not be available as a credit to the individual in most of the cases, for the very simple reason these particular bodies are having individual members who have not come together for supply to this particular body in case of their business. They are small units, they are getting into self-help units. So a member of RWA, if he's charged GST, I don't think he can take. A farmer, if he's charged as GST, I don't think he can take the credit. We will find so many situations where if we look into these particular points in terms of taxing, we find that this particular tax has become a cost to the members itself. So just because they have come together, they have pooled in their fund, they will not be asked to pay 18% more as GST on their own contribution and on their own derivation from such contribution. So please try to understand. I'll give you a very small example. I and 10 of you have come together. We said, okay, we want to procure a GST book. Now that particular book costs us in the market 3,000, on which we get a 50% discount, rather 40% discount if we buy it individually. But if we buy 11 copies of that book, we get a 50% discount. So what we did was we made one person in charge. We gave him requisite money, 1,500 each. And that particular person goes to a shop, take 11 copies and then give us the copies. In this particular case, if we are told that, sir, while you are giving the money to the body as a membership fee, please pay 18%. And then the body goes and purchases books which are exempt. In that particular case, though we have got the book, but 18%, we are paying on a contribution which is of no sense, because that particular money was not a consideration for purchase of book from the body, but through the body from the supplier. So if the item is taxable, the supplier will charge the requisite tax. So will be the case in case of many bodies. For example, RWAs, if you talk about installation of lift. So every member contributes, let's say 50,000 rupees, and overall the body pays 30 lakh rupees to the company, let's say Cone Elevators. In this particular case, Cone Elevator is supplying services of supply and installation of lift to the RWA, and RWA is not providing the same service to the member. It is though going to the benefit of the member, but there is no supply per se between the body and the members. Please look into these particular things very, very carefully. There can be cases where society can also act as a member. That cooperative society can also act as an agent of the member. Now, in this particular case, the society might be retaining a part of the amount which is received by the member from the supply. Now, this particular amount cannot be called a commission, but a part of a contribution made by the member, which will be ultimately applied to the benefits of all the members. So that particular money, which is basically going to the contribution for being or for the benefit of all the member, will not be counted. But yes, if it is only open for some members to trade while the capital is being put into by all the member, the word contribution might get converted into consideration, because then there is a privity of contract between the society and the members. The moment there is a privity, there is a liability, there is a right to sue which comes into existence. The concept of mutuality also diminishes. So they are not brothers in hand. If the privity of the contract will come into play, the mutuality will vanish, will go, and vice versa. So if mutuality comes, there cannot be a privity. If you cannot sell to yourself, you can also not sue yourself for non-performance. So please do take these kinds of questions very carefully. Again, my dear friends, also in the taxing statutes, when you're looking and you're advising your clients, many of them will be coming to you from the perspective of whether we are undertaking a business. Now, the business which was understood in the traditional cases in the era of 70s, up to 70s and 80s or 90s, early 90s, I would say, the decisions which were rendered by the court, which were pronounced by the courts in those particular times, are no, I would say, good precedents today. For the very simple reason, the law, the circumstances, the situations have changed. The business, as earlier it was seen, was with a pecuniary benefit or with a profit motive. Things have changed. Now you don't need the condition of profit motive pecuniary benefit to be associated to a business. If you look into most of these startups are not earning profits, but their valuations are increasing. The sole motive of spending more and more in terms of their visibility is to get more and more customers on board so that their valuation increases. So the whole business model from traditional profits to valuations have changed over a period of time. And so is the concept of business, and therefore the acts have also adapted themselves over the period of time. The acts have changed their definition, taken out the restrictions which were earlier applicable. For example, volume, frequency, profit motive. These are no longer the requisites of undertaking a business. Business is a wider term today. Business will be looking with the objective of undertaking any trade, commerce, or such particular activity. And in most of the statutes, you will find that the term business will specifically be defined to include any provision of facility, benefits, goods, services by the society to its members or vice versa. So please do look into these particular changes before you opine. So if you ask me, the earlier decisions of Satya Science Society will not be a good decision today, for the very simple reason that particular decision was rendered in an era where profit motive, where the main activity was not seen, which was the spreading of the spirituality. Now, spreading of spirituality again is exempted today also under the GST statute. But my dear friends, please do remember, things have changed, times have changed, perception of the courts have changed. Whenever you are taking a decision, do not play on the sympathetic card of charitable activities, for that matter, or for that matter of non-profit. In such particular bodies, times have changed. Look very specifically whether you stand on the legs of mutuality. Can you fight your case? Can you take out your case on the grounds of mutuality? If you find yourself in a negative answer, don't try to run away, shy away from taxing those particular transactions. I can tell you, many of the clients will not listen to you. Many of the clients will say, sir, you are not giving us correct opinion. But take my words, my dear friends, when you tell them your opinion, in not very long run, but in 2-3 years, they will definitely come back to you, admiring that you had already framed a position very clearly for them 3 or 2 years back, and what you said has come true. So when the nightmare comes true, the person is taken back by a jolt and he rushes back to the person who has given him the correct opinion, correct verdict at that particular time. So your decision will today be derived from the concept of mutuality, the right of mutuality, and not on other softer grounds vis-a-vis profits, vis-a-vis charitable activities, nothing like that, sir. Now, when you're talking about a cooperative society, what is the income of the cooperative society? As I told you, there can be two kinds of models which cooperative society. They can go into a accumulation and supply model. I have procured all the goods from the members, kept them together, and then I'm selling it further. And when I'm selling it to the customer, I am making a sale and charging GST. And I am giving the respective share to the respective member by giving him the total amount of the procurement. And I'm also taking a membership fee from him for my existence of undertaking various common activities like admin work, marketing, taxation, legal, all these things. Now, friends, the other model can be not of the procurement, but as acting as an agent, where the society will charge a commission from the member. I would say accumulation and supply is more towards mutuality than the agent model. You will find in agent model, there will be a lot of times when you will not be able to satisfy mutuality. It is not a synonym today to cooperative. The word cooperative is not synonym to mutuality. Gone are those days. You have to look into a case by case, study. You have to look into every case, whether they fall within the ambit of mutuality, whether the body has taken consideration vis-a-vis contribution from the members or not. So please look into this particular thing. In case there can be bodies which assimilate funds in terms of donation and undertaken a public service, I think that will be more towards a charitable activity, not a part of this particular discussion. Now, friends, there are other benefits also which are available to such particular bodies. When I was referring to the benefit, common benefit, for example, a lift which was or construction of the society which was undertaken by the society, please take note of this particular case law also, which will help you in many matters. CST versus Shri Nandanagar 4 Cooperative Housing Society Limited. Now, this was a 2011 Gujarat High Court decision wherein it was held that the contractor who undertakes the construction work, he would be liable to pay service tax, but the society in turn, which has taken the contribution for that construction work from the members, cannot be said to be the supplier or contractor for its member. So the privity between the society and the members is not there, but between all the members through the society to the contractor, the privity is there. So only contractor would be required to pay the GST and not the society while taking the contribution from the members. So friends, overall, I think I have made my point very, very clear. I understand the paucity of time. We have 10 minutes left. If Priyaji, if we have any question, or can I just take up something more in 10 minutes? That's what I just.
So we have some questions.
So can we please take them for the next 10 minutes?
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir. So first question is, in Sahkari Mandali, doing lending business, is it liable to GST on all the transactions?
Sorry, which mandali? I'm wanting.
Sahkari Mandali, sir. It's a cooperative mandali.
No. So on what kind of activity? The more important part is what.
On all the transactions, sir.
Ma'am, it's a very wide yes or no you are asking me. I cannot give a blanket yes or no on the word all the activity. I need to have some specific activity which we can speak on.
Actually, participants is asking about the Sahkari Mandali. We also didn't get idea about this question, so we can skip this question.
Or we can do one thing. If we can allow that gentleman to explain his question, and he can put up his specific query, then we can answer.
Yes, sure, sir. Sir, another question is, does ITC is available on capital expenditure for installing or replacing lifts in the CHS building?
See, you can take an ITC of any goods and services which you have used for provision of any taxable supply. That is what Section 16 allows you, barring the restriction of Section 2, 16 3, 16 4, Section 17. Now, if you are talking about Section 16 itself, I will not even go into Section 17, subsection 5, clause C and D of the CGST Act, where your exact question is, where you're speaking about that anything which goes into the immovable property. My very question is defeated in Section 16, because when I say, if I am installing something, what is the output I am supplying through it? So maintenance and other activities and installation of capital goods through contribution. I think I've made myself very clear with this word. They are two different things. You have contributed to get a common asset installed, and therefore there is no output supply per se. It is made out of contribution. My dear friend, it fails the ITC availability in Section 16 itself. You don't even need go to Section 17, subsection 5 for this. Next question, please.
So I sent you a case study on your email ID. Just have a look because one of the participants sent us an mail. There are two questions related to a case study that Mr. Deepak Sharma sent us.
See, this is relating to section 80P something and 271, 270.
Okay.
Again, Priya ji, I would want the member, if you cannot interact with the member right now, we cannot answer these kinds of queries in open because the answers will vary with certain questions to be asked with the member.
Right.
We can take up a generic question. We cannot take up a specific question about a particular scenario without the member.
Right. So we have a question. In cooperative housing society, at what amount of monthly maintenance GST is applicable?
See, this particular thing, anything above 7,500 GST would be applicable in RWA. That has been always the position. So if it is up to 7,500, no GST. If it is above 7,500, you need to pay GST on such particular collection. Now, my statement is also subjective to the fact of the concept of mutuality, which I spoke for almost half an hour today. So a very judicious call has to be taken. If you're taking a call in terms of mutuality also, my dear friend, give a note, give your position in writing to the jurisdictional officer and ask your society to pay the money under protest till you are fighting this particular case with the GST authorities, so that there is no peril. What is the beauty of direct tax and which is not available in indirect tax? Direct tax always remains your tax. Indirect tax is only available if you're able to collect it from the person receiving the supply today. If you miss to collect it, then again it becomes a form of a direct tax because the body will have to bear it. It was never its tax, which now because of a liability has become its tax.
Thank you so much, sir. And these were the only questions that we have received from the participants, sir.
Right. I understand that.
Right, sir. And now we would like you to wait because Vice Chairman sir would present the vote of thanks. We're just waiting for him. Just 5 more minutes and he'll be here.
No problem. Meanwhile,
Just 5 minutes.
no problem. Meanwhile, my dear friends, please note too, you will be finding many of the cooperative bodies be very judicious in terms of taking a position. Can I request Priyaji to mute yourself? The voice is echoing.
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Many of the friends will be taking a lot of decision in terms of taxation, and also being the auditors, they might have to look into the tax positions of these particular bodies. Be very careful in terms of there is no straitjacket formula which can be adopted in these particular bodies. It will be depending on a case-to-case basis. You cannot apply a general answer to very wider question. For example, all activities of Sehkari Mandi. Now that's a very vague answer because the body, it's never exempted in GST. It is always the activity of supply which is exempted. So the question itself is into a lot of when you ask such particular question, it itself shows the peril of the understanding what we are having. We never exempt a body. We always exempt a particular activity of supply of goods or services in indirect taxes. Do please remember that. So that was also another word of caution. Let's wait for 2 minutes for the respected Vice Chairman sir to attend, and I think we can then conclude this session. I thank each and every one of you to be a very patient listener to attend this particular seminar. It is always indeed a pleasure to attend, deliberate before all of you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Gaurav sir, I have a question. I think, good evening. I think now, since chartered accountants are coming everywhere, RERA and forums, and so I think now we need to have a legal provision to have a joint venture with chartered accountants and advocates so that win-win situation can be created.
Vijayji, I myself am an advocate. So, even though I practiced more than 18 years as a chartered accountant, I can tell you this one collaboration is most sought after.
Yes.
Because then you have a best of the law and finance together.
Yes.
Without which no organization can survive today.
Right.
With you, sir.
Yeah. So we have to have a very good formal joint venture permissible by some law, and because ultimately when the government is bringing so many bars, like you don't do this, you don't do that, and your tax audit limit is getting enhanced. So the legal and the taxation are probably a sort of a mixture in terms of a new firm can be introduced wherein lawyers and chartered accountants can come forward and form a proper firm so that a joint services sort of scenario can be worked out.
So that is very, very important from two perspectives. Number one, the law and the finance cannot be now divorced. Look
Yes.
into their individuality. That is the first point.
Yes.
And second point is, if you look into the competitive or the competition across globe today,
Right.
the large consulting firms have actually, both lawyers, both advocates and chartered accountants. I would say lawyers and advocates, lawyers and chartered accountants, not advocates. So they have the combination so that they are able to address the requirements of the clients from all the angles.
Yes.
So for the individual practitioners also, it is a must now.
Yes.
That both the bodies, Bar Council of India and ICI, I think Bar Council has not yet given the permission.
Yes.
ICI has moved forward with this. So as soon as Bar Council also adopts this, that we are competing with
Right.
large scale bodies which are of deep, resources.
Right.
Individual practitioner need these kinds of spaces to compete with them. I think yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Everybody, press Anna, so the Vice Chairman PDC unfortunately is not here. We would request Secretary PDC, Ms. Seema Girotra, to present the vote of thanks.
Just one more thing before ma'am you start, sorry. As
Yes,
Vijayji
sir.
has said, for this particular area also, the cooperative bodies,
Yes,
there,
sir.
if you can actually get into, I'm not saying partnership, but yes, associations, where you can offer the services of an advocate also, along with your own services, so that you get the best of combination of
Yes.
the two, legal and finance, to the client. That will save everyone from a lot of legal hassles tomorrow. Definitely, Vijayji, what he has said is.
The Institute of Chartered Account, I think I'm unable to switch on my camera. I'm sorry for that. As far as this subject and suggestion is concerned, in connection with this particular webinar, I think if it is possible, ICI North can come out with a press release wherein it has been, we don't hate each other, we want to work together. Like advocate and chartered accountants, we should join hands and provide, all-inclusive services to the clients, so that it is for the ministry, that finance as well as law, to look into it and then come, with a proper solution, so that you do.
Fine, sir. We've noted your point and we'll get at this considered, sir. Yeah.
I think a press. Yes.
So may we conclude?
Yes, please.
Please, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. So on behalf of the Professional Development Committee, we would like to express our thanks to all our viewers and who spared their time and who very actively participated. We received a lot of queries and we hope we were able to resolve those queries. And we will also like to thank all our resource persons, Anil Agarwal ji, Advocate Vijay Kulkarni ji, and Advocate Dr. Gaurav Gupta. So all of the three topics we heard, and it was very useful, and your presentations and were very comprehensive. And we'd like to thank you very much that you spared your valuable time and you answered all the queries. And we hope we would have the benefit of your expertise also in our future webinars. And we'd like to express all our more than 3,000 participants were there. We'd like to express our thanks yeah, for joining us today. Thank you so much. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Recording stopped.